Okay, look, dude. I understand that you're excited about your big return, and that you want as big an army as possible for your invasion. But this nugget of mine is so big that wearing most hats is just a pipe dream. Seriously, I had to buy a fedora because it was the only thing that would fit. I've been forced into hipsterism. So, will you please cut that out? I'd hang out with him more if he weren't always trying to control my mind. Ew, right. I forgot you could do that now. Those eyes. Those horrible and blinking eyes. They're just like... Die, aquatic spawn of evil! Okay, no time for mind control because, my gosh, there is a lot to unpack this episode. What fresh spore of madness awaits us? Well, can't be scarier than that.
Nothing's wrong. Everything's perfect.
Ew. I was just being snarky there, but okay. Actually, we get a tiny hint that things are better than before just by Pinky bowling into Spike.
Girls.
In earlier seasons, this would have led to him taking a hard faceplant or something equally painful. Yet those new wings show he's stronger than before, so there's still an element of slapstick, but not pointless pain. Just an example of how change has worked its way into the show.
Equestria is currently enjoying its longest period of harmony in recent years.
When I first heard this, I thought about all the ways Luna could be wrong. However, notice that she said harmony instead of peace. Harmony has several definitions, mostly related to music, but the two most important here are a pleasing arrangement of parts and an interweaving of different accounts into a single narrative. From the very first episode, Equestria's history has often been about cutting parts away, banishing rebellious elements or locking them up, split friendships and lost heroes. Celestia may have kept the performance going, but it was a rather monotone song. Since Twilight and friends joined together, they've continually brought others back into the fold, mended broken relationships, and often solve a problem by building a connection. Because of this, Equestria is now more diverse and home to a greater array of perspectives and resources. So yes, Equestria is way better off than before.
So, after much consideration, my sister and I have decided it is time for us to retire.
I have several notes about this, but the biggest is this idea.
Because of your efforts, there's been less and less for us to do.
If you're not needed to act, then this harmonious time is better used to create something new, expand or redefine a role. One doesn't retire just because things are going easy. Anywho, Twilight is the obvious choice to take over, which causes the usual Twilight breakdown.
You get big news, and you're like, no!
Now's the part where you all tell little Sparkle here that everything is going to be fine.
But then you pace, and you chart, you worry.
Normally, I don't like it when the show does the summarizing for me, but in this case I appreciate it because there's a lot more to cover, including the return of Chrysalis, Tyrek, Cozy Glow, and...
like no other, flawless, absolutely flawless.
Hail to the king, baby. He's back and this time he's got a fresh set of pipes. Who brought this evil troop together? A newbie, but an oldie.
You may call me Grogar.
And here I thought the Aramaspi was the closest we get to this G1 character. Though given that looks like the Aramaspi's eyeball there on the table, I'm suddenly doubting that creature died from the fall. Much like Tyrek, the Smooze, and Somnambula, Grogar may share a name with a previous My Little Pony villain, but he's a very different beast. The previous Grogar was Lord of the Dark City of Tambalon. This Grogar is the creator of monsters and the former Emperor of Equestria. He's also powerful enough to transport all of them from various locations, including Tartarus, to his secret lair. What makes this guy threatening isn't just his reputation, it's how casually he tosses a nugget of magic towards Tyrek. No worry that this will diminish him or concern that he's empowering a being that could turn traitor. No, Grogar is implied to be powerful because he can spend freely.
I demand that you join me.
And he's saying this to a group of villains known for being, shall we say, less than team players? But he's timed it well because most of them have bottomed out. T-Rex is running dry on magic, Cozy Glow lost all her influence, and Chrysalis...
I will defeat Twilight Sparkle and her friends.
Yeah, she's seen better days. There's only one villain who came back at full power and full ego.
I don't do hours.
Hang on, I recognize that voice. I don't usually do this, but it's really setting off the old memory.
What did you do with the humans?
I ate them, and they were quite tasty too.
It's him! It's Demolisher, as voiced by Alvin Sanders. Truth be told, I don't envy Mr. Sanders for his role. The #1 hurdle to his reception is that fans have had 6 whole seasons to envision Sombra's personality. Because he had very few lines or characterization, there was nearly a blank slate by which we could project all the malice, selfishness, or intensity we wanted. Those preconceptions can be a barrier to accepting his new attitude.
I will crush those who defy me. I will defeat all who get in my way.
More on his personality later. First things first, he's got an empire to conquer. Turns out he's operating by risk rules. As long as you capture the enemy stronghold, you win. But I'm sure that won't be easy because there's an Alicorn princess and Captain the Guard who will
Hurry, Twilight. We need you.
not even activate the Crystal Heart, and instead can't even keep track of who's caring for their daughter. The answer is Sombra. Her first words.
Kneel before Sombra.
Kneel before Zod!
Here's the thing. It took 2 Alicorns combining their power to defeat Sombra the first time around. I don't expect Cadance and Shining Armor to overpower him, but I'd like to see them try. Passivity has been their burden for the entire series, and because the story requires it, they have to depend on Twilight, who is not doing so hot.
You are Twilighting hard.
You say Twilighting too?
Me, I'm more a fan of Twilight Nanas.
I wasn't Twilight Nanas!
Though I have to give Starlight props for trying to beat Twilight at her own game.
I can't. I'm not ready. Remember what happened the last time you left me in charge?
Continuity. Oh yes, there's a lot of that.
Like when Sombra almost took back the Crystal Empire?
Continuity, there's so much continuity. Oh, look at all the continuity. Continuity, she said the thing that means continuity, and there's more continuity. Oh, hey, there's continuity, and there's more continuity. Oh, there's the thing that means continuity.
Of course, My Little Pony also relies on small and sometimes not so small retcons. In this case, their memory of what happened with Sombra.
I thought the Crystal Heart had dispelled him into the ether.
Is that what they're calling it now? Well, one point is dispersion is another Hippogriff's explosion. With only 4.5 minutes left in the first part, we get an accelerated chain of events that would normally fill an entire 2-part special.
Twilight friends confront the villain and are faced with their worst fears, but overcome them and use the elements to blast Sombra. Then give a we can do anything together talk, and all seems well until they go back to the tree, and then...
That is now 2 trees destroyed. I'm starting to wonder if this show isn't secretly dendrophobic.
You thought you defeated me.
Now's a good time to talk about Sombra's presentation. In so many ways, he's become your classic Saturday morning cartoon villain. Fitting, since this show airs on Saturday mornings, until the other countries muck with the schedule again. Yet Sombra seems to embrace this, celebrate it even. He loves devouring the scenery as much as he loves dark crystals.
My conquering Ponyville is already your greatest fear.
I share in his enjoyment. Yet his grandstanding and flamboyant villainy actually enhances his actions. He seems silly and over the top, but next thing you know he's brainwashing both Ponyville and Canterlot ponies left and right. Most villains would take your emotions, your magic, and then your life. Sombra drains your will and makes you both shield and soldier for his ambitions, much like we saw in the alternate history at the end of Season 5. That's pretty dark to me, and so I think this validates the words of animation director Ishii Rudell. The most underestimated villain on the show would easily have to be King Sombra. I think, if given the chance, he could do some serious damage throughout Equestria. So we're in a situation where if it rains, it pours. The Everfree Forest is overrunning the place. Sombra's plan is several steps above Sunset Shimmer's brainwashed teenagers and is actually succeeding. And Cadance and Shining Armor have fulfilled their appearance quota and won't be helping out.
Could anything else possibly go wrong?
This is what I meant by Equestria enjoying greater harmony than before. While Twilight and friends are on the back pedal because the Everfree Forest finally has its teeth back, now there are other powerful figures who can step up. It's no longer a matter of these 6 saving the day, even though they've grown used to that rhythm, as has the audience. This includes the return of Star Swirl, who works alongside Celestia and Luna to hold the line.
We've left Canterlot defenseless.
Yeah, while I was frustrated by Cadence and Shining Armor being forced into a passive role, the Crystal Guards have been the best in Equestria. They were proactive when they feared that a changeling had infiltrated, and when Sombra invaded, they charged him with spears. Canterlot's guards get their horns destroyed, and they appear to rely on flapping to keep the Conqueror at bay. Which works about as well as you might expect. And again, because Sombra seems to be treating this as a game, if you claim the throne room,
Equestria is mine!
I don't think the rest of Equestria is going to surrender just because you're in charge of the feng shui. Then again, the Storm King's invasion did set very strange precedents. But there is a resistance as Twilight and friends fight their way through an army of brainwashed ponies. I'm assuming that it's Sombra's influence that gives unicorns the ability to fire offensive magic. That doesn't seem like something you want to make available to the public. But it's the little things that make this fight fun, such as how Fluttershy has become a much more confident flyer thanks to Rainbow Dash. And they managed to frustrate some Crystal Empire guards who I guess never got liberated? I'm just saying, Cadence and Shining better give those guys a heck of a bonus this year. Another sign of growth is how often Twilight can use her teleport spell. Back in the Ticketmaster or Dragon Quest, it seemed to take a much greater toll on her. Lately she's been able to zap about the place with less wear, though I think she's still wary about jumping into a hostile environment without even a first glimpse. Of course, no amount of foreshadowing accounts for Discord, who's been a cameo throughout this adventure. A cameo who has been rather insistent.
Oh, fine. Go with the obvious choice. Could this mean that you finally have the confidence to ascend to the throne like the princesses believe you can? You didn't need the elements the last time you defeated Sombra. I was betting on you, and I do hate being wrong.
Amazing how the antagonist who once tried to break them all is now offering a curious form of compliments. Discord's relation to Twilight and his interest in her growth is a topic for its own video. For now, it's enough to recognize the trickster's role. He has a goal and is willing to do just about anything, including faking his own injury, to accomplish it.
You don't need me. You don't need the princesses, and you certainly don't need the elements.
The thing about trickster characters is that they might act in your favor, but only because your interests coincide. I'd say Discord really is their friend, but that doesn't make him trustworthy. Still, it's nice to see him in such a positive role after his very negative presentation in A Matter of Principles. Oh wait, he got blown away in that episode just like Sombra. I guess that ether idea has more merit. You might ask why Sombra isn't attacking during this heartfelt scene. Well, I'll tell you why. Because game recognizes game. Interrupting Discord's theatrics would be as gross an offense as Chrysalis interrupting Sombra. Though he did take a shot at my favorite pony, so yeah, there's gonna be some vendetta there. Though I should get in line, as Twilight finally snaps out of her self-doubt and starts slapping Sombra's attacks down, with some flourish for good measure. Now here's an interesting take. We've known since Season 1 that these ponies embody the elements, but how often have they won on that power? Consider all the premieres and finales where they didn't feature the elements. To memory, we have a love-fueled protection spell, a crystal doodad that runs on an empire's love, a magical box that grants powers similar to those of the elements, talking an opponent down, another love-fueled shockwave created by changelings, talking another enemy down, even though this featured the elements. 6 students being granted magical protection from the Tree of Harmony. We've seen a lot of element proxies or witnessed emotional power surges from third parties, and in each case, Twilight or one of her students talked them through it. But this is the first time Twilight and friends have really dug deep and generated that power from within. The first time their magic has given Twilight an ethereal mane, unlike when she channeled the power of 3 alicorns. This is a power we've known about from the start, and yet we're seeing it in Season 9. Sombra sees it too.
Your magic can't defeat mine! I destroyed the source of your power!
Before you're tempted to criticize Sombra's plaintive tone, consider some of his early words.
That is mine! No! Stop!
Sombra is dangerous and powerful, but at his core he's an example of the weakling king. He views that he is owed the power but takes none of the responsibility. Being in a position of power, he feels the need to bully and harass those he considers beneath him. That's why he didn't possess Twilight and the others. He needed someone to witness his victory, or it wouldn't count. Yet when the tables turn and he has no autonomy, no ability to act, he is reduced to a child's arguments. Standards and practices is a curious thing. This is a rather intense image, so I'm surprised they allowed that on a wide-rated cartoon. Yet I'm not complaining, only questioning if he's really dead or dissolved once more into the ether.
Meanwhile, at the Legion of Doom. Okay.
I'm gonna have fun watching these three.
Oh, do you want more juice?
Only if it's not too much trouble.
If he asks for a glass of water, shoot him again. Seriously though, I didn't think they would kill off Discord, but I wouldn't blame anyone who feared that was legitimate.
None shall harm a hair on his or his character's heads. To do otherwise will result in rage quit.
Because if there's one aspect to this opener, it's surety. Past season premieres were often vague. What was that journal meant to represent? What's in the box? How will these students play into the story? This opener is more of a declaration. Though Celestia and Luna rightly decide to give Twilight more time to come to terms with taking on their roles, it is going to happen. Grogar and his team will be a threat. Starlight will be taking over the school and possibly the map. There's very little guesswork at play, which makes this opening feel very bold. It tackles so much, more than I can cover in just one review. Some parts are character-driven and are the most fun, especially the relation between Twilight and her friends. Other parts are dictated by the story, such as the Royals' passivity or mistakes. These escalate the tension, though sometimes at the character's expense. Grogar seems an impressive villain, and he's at his best when he plays off Sombra's arrogance. And I had fun watching Sombra devour the scenery. Maybe the biggest impact is that Twilight and friends don't know this threat is approaching. We have the dramatic irony to keep us hooked. And I'm looking forward to this final season and all the celebrations that are possible within. I'm Silver-Quill, and if you'll excuse me, I need to check on the ethereal plane. Hey there, bucko. Remember when you took a shot at Fluttershy? It's not that we aren't friends, but my fanboy devotion carries certain responsibilities. Just keep repeating, I am the king, and this will be over in no time.